Welcome back to the Retirement Planning Made Easy show. I'm your host, Chris Hammond, and this show is for retirees and those approaching retirement within the next 10, 15 years who want to get rid of all the stress, the anxiety, wondering if they're taking the right steps to be financially secure and prepared for retirement. Whether that's making right investment decisions, minimizing taxes, or knowing if you've saved enough to be secure in retirement, we talk about it all. Now, today's episode, I wanted to talk about an article I came across by the very popular Carl Richards. And if you don't recognize that name, he's a well-known voice in the financial services industry. He's the guy that draws those doodles. They convey like this important concept in a very short, succinct snapshot. So I came across one of his doodles in an email that he sent out a few weeks ago, and it said that security is a feeling, not a number. Now, he went on to say in the article that he knows people with more money than they could ever spend who are totally feel insecure. And he knows people that have almost nothing but feel totally secure. And that brought him to the conclusion that security is a feeling, not a number. Now, as a financial advisor who helps people to plan and help them to thrive in retirement, I'm fascinated by this intersection that I see between the objective and the subjective. And the objective being the typical things that you think about when it comes to financial planning, like savings, investments, tax strategy, distribution strategies, things like that. But then there is the subjective, which is harder to nail down, but it often comes down to a gut feeling of, am I comfortable with this particular strategy? Or at a more macro, bigger level, answering the question, am I going to be okay? And that last question being, in my opinion, one of the most important to answer for each person as they are approaching retirement or already retired, and they want to make sure that their money lasts the rest of their life. Now, as an aside, speaking of that question, I do talk about that in my webinar, Reaching Retirement and Thriving Beyond, which you can get instant access to the recording by visiting www.retirementplanningmadeeasy.com. So be sure to check that out. Now, back to the show, the objective influences the subjective in my experience. So a good example of the objective versus the subjective would be, imagine a situation where you have a big unexpected expense coming up to pay. Like, let's say your daughter's getting married and you're going to give her a gift to her and the new son-in-law, an all-inclusive honeymoon resort in Cancun. And your two choices to fund this are, you can pull the money from your traditional IRA, which means you have to claim all of it as income on your income tax return. And then, of course, that means pay whatever tax rate you owe on that. And the second choice is open up a home equity line of credit, borrow the money, and then pay down that home equity line of credit over time while also paying the interest rate on the loan. Now, in this example, let's suppose option one, using the traditional IRA money, puts you in a higher tax bracket. It causes your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums to be higher due to the higher reported income. And maybe it even caused you to enter a higher capital gains tax bracket, which means if you sell some other appreciated assets, you'd have to pay tax on their gains too. And let's suppose that this option one, will overall cost you an additional 15,000 in taxes. Now, let's suppose in this example that option two allows you to borrow on that HELOC. You choose to pay it back over a 3-year period, which allows you to pull less money each year from your traditional IRA to pay it, keeps you in a lower tax bracket, keeps your Medicare premiums from being higher, maybe even keeps you in a 0% capital gains bracket. So if you have any appreciated assets that you were going to sell anyway during that time, you'd pay zero in capital gains on this. And let's just say that this option overall costs $5,000 in interest that you have to pay on the HELOC. $15,000 is the cost of option one, 5,000 is the cost of option two. It seems like option two is better, at least looking at the hard data of cost. 15,000 in extra taxes on option one versus 5,000 cost on option two. It's just interest expense that you're paying. But that doesn't mean that subjectively everyone would choose that option. Some people may be 100% fine with choosing option one, paying the extra cost in taxes because the thought of borrowing against their home is the worst thing they can imagine. Maybe their home represents security to them, something that took them years to pay off in the first place. And the last thing that they want to do is borrow against it. And that's a great example of where the subjective comes into play. When there are subjective values that are more important than reducing costs. Well, as long as the retirement plan still works and it's not going to cause the person to run out of money, then why not go with that option if that fits your value system better? There's so many other factors at play in personal finance, and that's why it's literally called personal finance. Your situation, more importantly, your values, your wants, your desires are different from everyone else. And what are some other soft factors that could be at play in that hypothetical example? Let's just think of a few. These are things that are not the hard objective reality, but just the soft factors in that example. Maybe one factor is I don't feel like finding a banker to open a HELOC. Maybe you don't have a relationship with a banker already. Why would you if you have no debt, right? Or I don't feel like having to go through the process to have to open up another account, the home equity line of credit. Or I don't know, is there going to be an appraisal process that I have to go before they approve this loan? Should I search online for an institution that would approve a HELOC? Which institution should I use? Am I going to get a good rate? How do I know there isn't any fine print that could come back to bite me? These are just kind of like soft factors of just, you could call these the headache factors. Maybe it's easier to pay more in taxes and just get this taken care of where I don't have to think about it again. Or maybe you're fine going through the process with the HELOC to save money in our hypothetical example here. Everyone's different. And that's the interplay of subjective versus objective. The hard factors being weighed against the soft factors. And there's no ultimate right or wrong cookie cutter answer that fits everyone. It is literally personal finance decisions. And that gets us back to what Carl said. He's seen some people with lots of money that have anxiety and they don't feel secure. And then he's seen others with little money who don't feel insecure at all with their financial picture. We all want to fall in the category of feeling secure, except I'm going to say that sometimes you don't want to. Now, why would I say that? Because what if you really aren't secure? What if you think you are secure, but in reality, you don't realize that financially speaking, things may not look as rosy as you think? Wouldn't you rather know that before it's too late? Let me give you another example. Another hypothetical here to get us thinking. A fictional lady named Betty retires at age 65. She saved up a lot of money, or at least what she thinks is enough for her in her 401k. She retires, feels secure. But only a couple of years into her retirement, due to not investing her portfolio correctly for this new phase of life where she's taking regular withdrawals to pay for her lifestyle, she experiences a large portfolio decline. Markets go down. She continues to take withdrawals, further driving down the value of her portfolio. On top of that, she notices that every time she pulls money from her 401k, she has to claim it as income on her tax return and pay taxes on it, meaning she doesn't get to keep all of her withdrawals for herself. And suddenly she realizes that her 401k number that seemed so big when she retired actually had a significant portion of it that Uncle Sam would have dibs on. But she only found this out after being retired for a few years. The question is, wouldn't she have been better off if she had not felt so secure in her financial future? Wouldn't that have prompted her to dig deeper, maybe even put a personal retirement plan together that would look at these possible threats to her retirement that she didn't consider before? of course, this would have made her better off. So the big takeaway when it comes to the subjective values and the objective realities is they need to be aligned and true and consistent with each other. Because reality has a way of asserting itself over time. And for the person that's objectively doing great, but still has those subjective feelings of financial insecurity, one thing that would help them overcome that anxiety would be to have a personal retirement plan put in place for them, a plan that would show what they can reasonably expect their portfolio to produce in income on a long-term consistent basis, what types of investing they should be doing for the new retirement phase of life they're in, or a plan that shows them what to do each year to help reduce taxes that they'll pay on their 401k so they can keep more of it for themselves, and a plan that shows them what to do when the market has a big downturn correction. Now, if that's you and you need to find somebody that can help you with a financial plan, I encourage you to find somebody. We only have so many days on this earth, so it doesn't make sense to needlessly worry about things that can be fixed. If you don't have anybody you know to help you, then I might be able to help you. And you're welcome to book a 15-minute, no obligation Zoom chat or phone chat with me to tell me a little bit about yourself and see if I could be of assistance to you. And to do that, you can go to www.meetchris.us to do that. It's not .com, it's meetchris.us to do that. All right, that's all I got for today. I hope that has helped you out, and I will see you on the next show. Have a good week.